Hey everybody, this is Fish Taco. In this tutorial I'm going to show you how to make text art out of any clear high quality image of a person or clearly shown object. To start off with, you'll need an image that's clear. Here I have compiled a bunch of images to show what kind of images you want and don't want. The best kind of image would be one where all the features are clearly outlined. For example, you don't want an image that's blurry or the features aren't clear, and you don't want an image that's low res or blurry as hell. For the sake of this tutorial, I'm going to use the same image I made this one out of. It's a little bit blurry, but the original was high res and it looked good. So I'm going to try to make something possibly even better than that. So we'll just start off by dropping it into Photoshop. Now some people like to remove their backgrounds automatically with things like the quick erase tool and all that, but I find it easier to do it with most images by hand. So what I definitely like to do first is double click on the background, which will be the image you dropped in, and press OK, and what that does is unlocks it so that you can just grab the erase tool and erase the background. If you don't unlock that, it'll just erase to white, which won't remove the background. So yeah, what we're going to do now is cut it out. I'll fast forward this, but basically all you want to do is, have your hardness on nearly 100 and just cut out roughly the entire image. That's not the right spot. Basically, yeah, you want to get it down so it's mostly cut out. Some people prefer a bit of a higher smoothness, so you might want to put the hardness down to like 50 or whatever you feel comfortable with. But yeah, so I'm just going to fast forward this. Okay, so I nearly messed that up. I cut the top of the head off on purpose, but it ended up looking pretty stupid. I thought it'd look a bit bulky, but it looks way better this way. One thing I didn't mention right at the start is, most of the time you kind of want your image to be at least the head, or the middle of like the primary part of the image. You don't want it to touch the side, because if it touches the side, you won't be able to put this on another, like if you want to put it in the middle of your wallpaper that you're making, or a channel image, it'll cut off on the edges. So what I try to do whenever I take a picture for this is make sure that the head itself doesn't touch the side of the picture. And what I'm going to do now is test to see what it's going to look like when I actually put it into the text state. This is what we're going to do to make it into text. First we go black and white. Then you go back into the adjustments and you go posterize. Now I'd recommend level 5 or 4, anywhere between 4 and 6, whichever you think looks better for your particular image. That looks stupid, that looks good, that looks a little too much, so I think I'm going to go with this. Now I'm not so sure I quite like this, so what I'm actually going to do is do a bit of editing. Now you might need to do this on a few types of images. Now what I'm actually going to do is change the contrast a bit, but only on the face, not the hair. So basically, I'm going to grab my pen tool, create, and you can see a bit of a spoiler for later in the video, but I'll put it back to a ball. Now I'm going to put the hardness to 0, so it'll be smooth, as you can see, and we're going to go white. And then we're going to draw there. Now what I'm actually going to do is use that as a mask. So basically I'm going to create a contrast layer, and there you go. Okay, so what that's actually done is, since I had that selected by control clicking that, what it did was made the mask on it that. So if I turn up the contrast, it's only going to do it on the face, and as you can see, that's going to bring out the colors more. So part of it will be white and part of it will be dark, whereas by default, that you see how the lips weren't as dark when it was on 0, and when it's on 100 it's way better looking. So yeah, now that I've done that, I'm actually just going to go merge layers because I'm happy with this, but I wouldn't recommend doing destructive editing unless you know you've got what you want. So now it's already in black and white, and I'm going to put it onto posterize. And as you can see, that looks way better. It's brought out the colors. There's some black bits instead of just grey. It just looks so much better now. So I'm happy with this, so I'm going to do a final edit, and now I would recommend every stage of your editing. Once you cut it out, do a save. Once you get to the part where you're doing the actual text editing, do another save on a separate file. So what I've done for this is I've gone tutorial 1, tutorial 2. Now for the editing bit, I'm going to put tutorial 3. And actually I've decided I don't like this black bit, so I'm going to show you how to remove that if you accidentally leave it in. So how I'd recommend to do this is usually you'd only want to do this if it's a black shirt. It just looks terrible. So basically what I'm going to do is color range, and this is how we're going, I'll explain this a bit more later. This is how we're going to do each stage of color. Light, sorry. So we're going to have a white layer, a grey layer, a dark grey layer, a very dark layer, and then a black layer. To begin with, let's go color range. So we've only got the black selected, and then we're going to use our eraser. We're going to erase that because that'll look weird in the end. And basically, we're just going to get rid of, it's too smooth. I need to put it onto 100% hardness. And basically, I like that, but I don't quite want this bit. So there you go, that should mostly clean it up, and we can clean anything else up with a few little edits with the eraser. There might be a few messy bits on the edges, just erase them like that. It should get rid of any stragglers. And I'm actually going to cut off the bottom just so that I have this entirely suspended. I think it'll look better if it's suspended. And obviously I can remove this neck at any time because there's that black line. I can just get rid of everything below that black using the group erase tool, and yeah, so that's if I only want the head, but I kind of want the neck for now. It kind of looks funny, but anyway. Okay, so now that we're a suspended head, what I'd recommend doing is putting a layer below your image. This is a big part of it. Your background color will dictate how cool it looks. Now I find the best color for all is a nice blue like that, but that's my thing. You might not like the color blue at all. You might want a lighter blue, a pink, a red. Red looks good most of the time, but I would recommend probably like a red like that, not just a flat red like, you know, the generic red that you see everywhere, because the more unique it looks, the better it's going to look, in my opinion. But anyway, okay, so make sure you've got that background layer selected and paste. Now, obviously we can't see what the text is going to look like because there's no holes in the image yet, but when we put that text in, there will be holes and this will shine through, which is going to look awesome. And that's really the idea of the entire image, is to have the light shining through and the beautiful background, and yeah, it's just going to look good. And keep in mind that you can do this without a background and put it as a PNG, and you'll just have a floating head that you can paste into any project. So yeah, so what I'd like to do is keep the project file, and if I want to take the background out, boom. If I want to keep it in, boom. If I want to change it completely, I can. And each of these colors will be on a separate layer. So at any time I can make this black a bit brighter, I could make that grey into the white if I wanted a really white face, etc. The possibilities are endless, really. So yeah, here we go. Okay, so what we want to do is create a new project. Make sure it's pretty big, so pixels are, you know, anything above 2000 by 2000. I like to go 2550 by 2560. Press OK, and it'll open a new tab. You can close this when we're done. We're just this is how we create the name that we're going to use as the text. So basically, we want to create a text layer, and I'm going to put fish taco. Now, I don't quite like the look of this, so what I'm going to do is put the amount down of the spacing. Oh, I've got to actually select it all. Okay, so let's say minus 100 looks pretty stupid. So let's go minus 25. Yes, that looks much better. So I kind of like this. Make sure it is completely black. And then bring it bigger so that it is big, because because the bigger it is, I believe the higher quality that the brush will be that we're going to create. So now that you've got the text, it has to be on a solid white background on a different layer, and I would recommend again doing the whole get rid of the lock thing. Now select this, get it as smoothly selected as you can, press edit, press define brush preset, name it whatever you want, fish taco text, and now if we go back to this one, select the brush tool, I have now created a fish taco brush. Now for this tutorial I'm going to use this fish brush I created earlier. You can use any font you want, but I kind of like this one because it's really blocky. It really does help. Okay, so we're going to use the select color range option to select each color. As you can see, it'll select different colors, and as we go darker, it'll select the different ones. So we'll start off with white, so just click that. Now there is a little thing that you have to make sure you do. If you have one color, if you have a selection and you try to do it again, it'll go all weird. So whenever you're done with a certain selection, click once with the selection tool and it'll get rid of that selection. Okay, so let's select, make sure you have this layer selected, click the select tool, color range, click the white and press OK. And as you can see, we have all the white bits selected. Now, create a new layer. I've already created one. Click on it, make sure you've got it selected, and this is where it gets fun. Okay, so go to your brush preset that you created, and I'll just quickly show you what this is going to look like. As you can see, as I click on it, it creates text inside of it, and this is actually supposed to be white because I'm doing a white layer. And what I like to do is leave this on, this background one, because it gives you an idea of what it's going to look like. And a little tip, if you don't know, hold Alt, right click, and drag it sideways, and that will make your brush bigger or smaller. Really does help. It's easier than, oh, I gotta go in here, and you know, it's way quicker. Alright. Yeah, I'm gonna use this fish one, as I said, because I just like it. But, you know, I don't want anything legible on my forehead. That would look really stupid. So basically what I'm just gonna do is do some, as you can see, yeah, you just do it by feel. Do what you think looks good. It's kind of a, if you have any really little bits in the selection, just paint the whole thing, because it's going to look weird if you leave certain little tiny bits unshaded. And as you can see, again, grab the selection tool and click once anywhere, and it'll unselect, and that looks scary as fuck, but we'll just move on. Okay, so create another layer, go back to this. I would recommend later in the thing, turn these off when you're selecting something, because they can go to slightly different tones and it can really screw up the selection. So anyway, color range, and now we will go for this slightly darker. That's the majority of the image, so yeah. Okay, so now we turn that off, turn this on, and I like to keep all of the new ones on, and it gives you a really good feel what it's going to look like. So yeah, scroll down. I reckon I'm just going to shade that whole thing because it's all really little things. It's going to look weird if I don't shade it. So, but this, as you can see, get a few big things and then scroll in, do a few small things of various sizes, and it really gives it a nice look as if it's text. So yeah, it's really not that hard. I feel like I'm giving a magician's secrets out, you know? Like, everyone thinks, oh, it must be so hard for you, Lachlan, to do these. All my friends. And I'm just like, no, it's not. But so I'm finally making a tutorial of it. All the ones on YouTube that actually taught me this seem to be gone, so I was just going to link to those, but I don't know, I think I've improved them anyway. Even though that sounds a little egotistical, but whatever. I've turned it into my own little method. Okay, now that is the next layer. So, back to work we go. And remember, you can change the shades on these. So just paint it the way it comes up. Like, whenever you select a color range, it'll put a a color in, just use those for now. You can always darken it or lighten it. Hell, you can even put rainbow colors and shit in. I'll show you that at the end, maybe, if I remember. And again, big text, small text. And just try to shade in as much as you can, because if you miss parts, it can look really, like, it looks empty in bits. So you always want to make sure that you're getting every little part of what you've got selected, except you're just leaving gaps and making it look like it's text. Now I think I'm going to put my name in the hair, maybe? I don't know. I like to put my name in at least one part of the image, which is fish, obviously. Okay, so now we do the final selection, I believe. No? No, this is the second to final. This one's going to be mostly just shading. You're not even going to be able to see much text in this because it's all little things, but we'll leave some gaps, which is the main thing. Okay, so put those on, take those off, and go back to shading. See, for this one, I'm just going to, you know, this is basically what it's like with if you have like a certain color that isn't shown much, or it's all thin bits. You just want to try to shade in the whole thing and leave some gaps so it looks good. Yeah, it looks good. And as you can see, the colors are a bit weird, but we'll fix that. But this is looking really good so far. I'm really liking how this is turning out. Now, as I said, turn those off and color range, and now we're doing the last color, which is black, and that is the color of my soul. But you know how it gets. Now, I'm gonna put my name a bit smaller, right there. As you can see, this black does not match the rest of the image. And what I like to do when I put my name there, the best way to do it, I find, is to block it in, and it looks really quite cool. No, yeah, there we go. And it just looks cool. But you'll see when we get the actual, the final colors done. It's going to look a bit better than it does now. Try to put some little text in here. The eyes I like to keep shaded properly, because if you leave gaps in the eyes, it can look quite weird. And that's pretty much it. Try to do the nose as well. Okay. Alright, so we've got all the colors in, but as you can see, the black looks way too light. So what I like to do, usually, is to do a color overlay, set it to white, and put the opacity down until I've got the right shade. I think that looks about right, but obviously you can change all of this. Is there anything else I would change? No. See, as you can see, I didn't do a very good job at the cutting out. If it's a bit smoother, it'll look better, but this was just an example, of course. So yeah, and as you can see, if I take the background off, it's literally just a transparent image I can drop on anything. So yeah, quite good. So thanks for watching. If you like this tutorial, give it a like and sub, because I'll probably make more of this kind of stuff. I do like art, and I need to get back into Photoshop a bit more. Anyway, see yous.